Welcome to Pay-to-Play Impressions for Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5. I will be demonstrating the game using Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, which is the first part of the collection of Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5. Now the game is available on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 and PC. I'm just gonna load it into the actual save file and show you what's how the things are in the game. Let's go to this one. I believe that's the right one. Now this is an action-adventure role-playing game with a 3D platforming elements. When I mean 3D platforming elements, I mean there's going to be a lot of them here. So we have a kind of a role-playing game, which is a Japanese role-playing game style where you don't really control the attributes of your heroes as they are increased with each level, but you do kind of have a choice of weapons and so on and equipment for them. You also have a certain elements such as the rise of elements is what makes this is a role-playing game, but overall the combat I would say makes it more of an action-adventure game because it's all done in real time and very fast and with exactness and focus on combinations and pulling off the different combos. So pretty much right now you're seeing how does the actual combat looks like right there. And you're going to be doing a lot of it here in the game. It's a lot very much focused on combat. Comes to elements, and now I'm collecting these little things which rewards. The yellow blue ones is money, the blue balls are magic and energy, and the green ones is health. So now what's the game about? Well, the game is about, as you can see, it takes Disney characters. In case you can see Goofy and Donald, and it mixes them with the Final Fantasy characters to tell kind of a new narrative. It's not related to Disney, it's not related to Final Fantasy. However, the interactions between the characters personalities, all of that kind of relationships between them remain the same. So the Goofy and Donald will interact the way they would interact in a Disney cartoon. The Final Fantasy characters know each other if they're from the same game, and they interact the same way as they would if they were in the Final Fantasy game. But the whole narrative in the story is all new. Oh, I did the wrong thing here. Okay, anyway, hopefully we can get. Come on, there we go. And so that's pretty much the premise of this whole Kingdom Hearts series, and each one of course further follows a certain plot and so on. Now due to the whole platforming elements in the game, and generally I just didn't find the game as interesting to myself, I decided that okay, I'm just gonna do pay-to-play impressions. I'm not interested in playing the rest of the series. Now visually the game, as you can see, is pretty good. Everything's clear, everything is fine, you can tell what's what and where the enemies are, and from that perspective it's all well done. There's a few issues in terms of when it comes to visually from perspective as such as that right now I'm in a very big open area, and that allows me to, well, easily to see things around me. Now there will be situations where I will be in a more enclosed areas and smaller areas, which results in a problem such as I'm unable to kind of see things because, well, the environment blocks them, right? And so it might make it kind of hard to focus and aim or attack. So from that perspective, it's a bit annoying. Sometimes it's more than a bit annoying, especially if you die because you're having a hard time locating or locking onto the enemies, because you're just not seeing things. The other problem is the field of view, which also creates a problem. So again, because the field of view being so close to the protagonist I'm playing as, I cannot always see where the enemies are, and in addition to my character, right? And so as a result, you can get killed. Again, something that's also very annoying. Now, overall, the game does also an excellent job of teaching you controls. So, if you're trying to find out how to play the game will tell you everything. It will not swamp you with too much of that information. It kind of pieces it out, and as soon as the new stuff is introduced, it will explain to you. So, from that perspective, again, everything's really well done. I have no complaints there. Let me get this guy. Oh, nope. Let's run away. Oh, Donald's down. One of the most common problems is that Donald gets killed. So eventually, though, he will get revived. Right now that the combat is over, he will get up. Also, Donald and Goofy will get up even during the combat at some point. It just takes a while for them to be kind of revive themselves. So let's talk about the themes of the game. The themes of the game are pretty clear. It's what you have here is good versus evil. So now it's a bit more elaborated than that, because it talks about doing things honestly, doing things in dishonest way or manipulative way. So you can say also as it kind of that's becomes apparent as you go further in the plot. So you start out with a plot that talks about, well, your protagonist here who's trying to find his friends. So that's the very beginning of the game. Now, as you progress further, the plot slowly begins to transform into not just finding the friends, but what it is to locate the heart of the romantic interest of the protagonist. And of course, the heart here serves as a metaphor for love, right? The antagonist is also doing the same thing. The antagonist is trying to also locate the heart, but the different approaches is that you are trying to do it through more honest means and through good, like more or less good means, while the antagonist is doing it in a more dishonest fashion. So from that perspective, you get kind of two different approaches, but it's quite, again, the game is pretty clear which approach is a good one, right? And so again, not much of a deep ideas or anything like that incorporated in the game. So now what to do in the game? Well, there's a lot of this what I'm doing right now, which is fighting the enemies. You're gonna be doing a lot of that. You're also doing a lot of platforming. The game is very heavy on that, on those elements, and you're gonna need to do platforming specifically because besides fighting different enemies in different Disney-themed worlds, which are in fighting bosses there. Actually, let's talk about bosses right now before I talk about platforming. Well, there's basically situation with bosses is such that in the early game you're gonna have a very difficult time beating the bosses, and that's what my experience. I'm playing the game at the hardest difficulty I can set it down at the very beginning, and so I had a very hard time beating the early bosses because generally, since the approach seems to be was that you kind of attack the boss once, and then you run around avoiding all the boss attacks, and then you get to this one situation where you can attack the boss again, and so on. And that was extremely long and arduous way. And quite often I felt that it's not that I beat the boss because I actually was really good in terms of fighting the boss. It's just that I got lucky. And the boss missed that another attack that would have killed me off, and so on. So later on, though, the further bosses I found that became much easier. Now, beating the early bosses is the way I did them is not because I beat them, I was doing something incorrect or anything like that. No, I actually was looking at the internet and checking to see how people are recommending that I fight them, and I found that people pretty much were saying that, you gotta do it this way, or you gotta do it be patient and so on. Or there was a lot of recommendations with regards to the ideas like, well, you just go ahead and level up your character, which is done by what I'm doing right now, which is fighting just all the random enemies, which is not exactly fun because it gets annoying. You're not doing this for some kind of side quest or something like that. No, you just go ahead and, especially in the early levels where you don't have that much things available to you or areas available to you, just kind of going through the same areas again and again and again and again. Really annoying. And until you kind of level up your character a bit so they have more health, they have a bit more strength, and so you're able to deal with the boss. Another problem that I had with the bosses was the fact that sometimes you don't have an auto save right in front of the boss. And that is very annoying because that means you have to run through the all these little enemies here that like this kind of ones that you see here, and fight them over and over again each time you die from boss, which becomes also annoying. The game should be letting you save right before the boss, or having at least an auto save or something like that, so that you don't have to repeat this element. Otherwise, again, it's just being annoying. Now I got killed. Well, that's fine. we'll go back and talk about other things here. 3D platforming, the other thing which is going to be doing a lot. Well, I found that 3D platforming is one of those things that was really annoying to me. I'm not a big fan of platforming. I'm not a big fan of overall, whether it's 3D or 2D. And so, game that has a lot of it was not exactly great of great interest to me. I didn't like that. Right, and add to the fact that besides the whole 3D platforming is that sometimes it's not clear how to solve the puzzles, and well, unless of course you are into the 3D platforming, then you might actually be having no problem solving the different puzzles, because it's gonna be like, okay, well, you know, that's your favorite elements of the game, right? But for me, I did end up having to go online to just to find solutions for this or that elements of the actual platforming. So keep that in mind. Now, besides the 3D platforming, what else you can do? Well, you do actually 3D platforming for one reason, specific reason, is that you collecting collectibles. There's a collectible things here, and I got killed again, but that's fine. We'll talk about collectibles now. Is that you use them to get new equipment and new weapons. So let's talk equipment and weapons. I'm just going to exit here so I'm not in the combat, so I can show you equipment. So here's equipment. So your protagonist has your weapon, which you don't buy. You actually get them as you complete different levels in different Disney themed worlds. They'll give you different versions of your main weapon, and they're gonna have different characteristics to them. And then you have also this equipment that you can find as well as buy in the stores. And so that's one of the things that you do 3D platforming for, is to collect this stuff. The other one is that you also get certain collectibles that will open up new Disney worlds, and then you also get the collectibles that allow you to do crafting. Now, the game has no armor as such. You do have accessories that slightly modify your characteristics, but there is no armor or anything like that. So it's only weapons and accessories. Crafting is available, I would say, about maybe 1/3 out into the game. It becomes available, and the game explains you how to do that also. There's like a store that does all the crafting for you anyway. It's also interesting that in the first third of the game, I would say, there was nothing really in the stores that when it came to accessories or equipment that was really interesting for me to buy. Then after the first third, suddenly things begin to ramp up, and suddenly there's actually good items there to buy for you and your companions. So kind of interesting in terms of dynamic of that. Well, overall though, I would say, well, given all the criticism that I just gave for the game, is that it's a good game. If you didn't have certain elements that I didn't like about the game, I would have said it's a very good game. But it's a good game, right? And well, consider the fact that you're running around everywhere with Donald and Goofy. Well, I would say that this is an uncool game. It's kind of hard to say to make it a cool game when you're running around with Donald and Goofy, right? So overall, good game, but an uncool game. And well, that's all I have to say about this game. So thank you for watching and for listening. If you like this video, please like it. If you didn't like it, don't like it, and please follow and subscribe.